Hey my people, Gracie here once again. Welcome back to the channel. I hope that from wherever you my lovelies are watching this from, you're doing alright and God has protected you and preserved you very well. I do appreciate all of you that keep supporting, and of course a big shout out to my members for supporting exclusively. Those of you that give me super thanks and super chats, thank you so very much. I received them. Yes, and as always, we definitely have another interesting one to look at. Guys, Trump has started targeting the palm-colored people. ICE is literally looking for palm-colored people and is sending letters and emails to American-born palm-colored, right? But let's not forget, a few days ago, Trump said, or he was caught in a hot mic saying, homegrowns are next. And I brought you the reactions of Black people about this. And we have a lot of other reactions from palm-colored people, and also reactions of the fact that now they have started targeting them and they're sending emails to their own, and they want to deport them, and they want to send them to El Salvador. Whoever thought they would fit that description as well? When Black people are talking about them and telling them not to do this, they thought all of this was a joke until at this point they're realizing this. But let's look at their reactions. We'll come back and talk about it. Don't forget to subscribe if you're landing on here for your very first time.
It started to happen. Today is Thursday, April 17th, 2025, and as of a few hours ago, we learned that an American doctor who lives in Connecticut, who was born in Pennsylvania, has received an official email from immigration telling her she needs to self-deport or essentially face the consequences. While this story is still developing, we know at this point that she has sought immigration, legal counsel, and carries around her passport at all times. But I need to use this as a PSA as well. If you receive an email from the Department of Homeland Security, even if you think it is spam, you need to lawyer up and check the origin of that email. I believe what we're going to see a lot of in this situation is, if this continues and they keep emailing people under whatever reasoning they think they need to deport people, people will see that, identify it as spam, and just ignore it, thus allowing ICE to make arrests and things like that. So I would err on the side of caution. If you get an email and it appears to come from the Department of Homeland Security, even if it looks like spam, you need to contact the lawyer.
He means you. You're homegrown. You're a citizen. You are homegrown. You're next. You're the person he's going to send to a prison in El Salvador next, without due process, without a criminal conviction. You're the person who, when the Supreme Court says you got to return him, he's going to say, no, I don't. No, I don't. You're next. You're next. How do you defend this? How do you even begin to defend this? No criminal conviction, no charges. They admitted that they shouldn't have deported him. He had a status that protected him. What do you think homegrown means? I don't even know where to begin with this. This is the beginning and the ending. This is all of it. This is indefensible. Indefensible. To anyone who wants to try to defend this, I have one question. If we ever get in control again, do we get to do this to you? No? Then you know it's wrong.
No, because what do you mean Donald Trump was just caught on a hot mic saying that he wants to send homegrown people to El Salvador? The Tangerine Tyrant said, you got to build about 5 more places. It's not big enough. You know, I like them bigger. Make them gold. The homegrowns are next. The homegrown. He said homegrown. Homegrown is an interesting word for me that he chose because he's only used to like artificial dyes and processed foods like McDonald's. Anyway, he continued on to say, I'd like to take it a step further. I said to Pam Bondi, I don't know what the laws are. We all always have to obey the laws, but we also have homegrown criminals that push people into subways. I'd like to include them in the group of people we take out of the country. So I'm going to talk directly to Latinos for Trump. If you think for one moment that just because you voted for him, just because you purchased a red hat that was definitely made in China, that doesn't mean that you're safe. Just because you might have a tattoo, you might be a little bit darker skinned, or you might be speaking poorly about the Trump administration online, you could be next. I'm in a soundproof booth right now, and I'm so glad I am, because what is happening? He wants to send homegrown people to El Salvador.
So this is winning. This is winning. This is making the country better. This is why he was elected, right? So we can illegally kick people out of this country, send them to an internment camp. Let's call it what it really is. Send them to an internment camp overseas in El Salvador, being ran by another dictator who sat in our Oval Office today and said that he's refusing to send this man back because he doesn't want to smuggle a terrorist into the United States. And how is he supposed to do that? The man's not a terrorist. It's never been proven that he was a part of a gang. Whatever fucking gang they want to reference this week. None of it's been proven. The Supreme Court ruled unanimously 9-0 that they needed to facilitate this man's return. Now the El Salvadoran president, and whatever you want to call our leader, sat in that Oval Office today, looked straight into the cameras, and said that there was nothing they could do. Nothing at all. The most powerful person in the world sat in the Oval Office. Sorry, there's nothing I can do about getting him home, even though it was an accident. It was a clerical error. But sorry, nothing we can do about that. And now he's been caught on a hot mic saying that he wants to send naturalized U.S. citizens to the same prison in El Salvador. Joking that they are going to need to build another 5 facilities to house the amount of people he's going to send over there. Tell me we have a dictator in the White House without telling me we have a dictator in the White House.
Okay, the tape is a little hard to hear, but if you listen closely, you can just make out what the president is saying as he enters the Oval Office today with the president of El Salvador.
Criminals next. Yeah. I said homegrowns are next. The homegrowns built. You got to build about 5 more places. Yeah, that's big. All right.
Laughter all around. That was Donald Trump today talking to the president of El Salvador, a man who calls himself the world's coolest dictator. And you could hear there what sounded like Trump promising that he's about to send to a prison in El Salvador the, quote, homegrowns, meaning U.S. citizens. He says homegrowns are next. You're going to need to build about 5 new places. The Trump administration has flown hundreds of non-U.S. citizens to this foreign prison in El Salvador already, including 10 more that they flew there this weekend. Even though the U.S. government has sent these people to this prison, the Trump administration says they have no protection under U.S. law there, that this facility doesn't answer to U.S. courts. The people sent there are just gone. They're sent into that prison maybe forever with no way to be heard, no way to contest whatever the designation was that got the U.S. government to send them there. Certainly no way to get out, ever. Are homegrowns really next? Would the American president send American citizens to indefinite, totally lawless, apparently permanent imprisonment in El Salvador as well? Is he open to that? Apparently, yes, he is.
If it's a homegrown criminal, I have no problem. Now, we're studying the laws right now. Pam is studying. If we can do that, that's good. And
if we can do that, that's good. Pam, meaning Pam Bondi, the Attorney General. So he wants to send American citizens to foreign prisons where U.S. legal protections don't apply at all, where people can be held for the rest of their lives without ever having a day in court or any sort of process. He says Attorney General Pam Bondi is, quote, studying the laws right now to see if he really could do it because he'd love to do it. It was only last week on Thursday when the Supreme Court ruled unanimously 9-0 in favor of a man named Kilmar Abrego Garcia. He's a legal resident. He's a Maryland father. The Trump administration admits they sent him to that prison in El Salvador by mistake. The Supreme Court effectively ordered the Trump administration to facilitate this man's return to the U.S. from that El Salvadoran prison without explicitly defining what that would look like. The Trump administration has insisted that they can't return him, and they don't intend to. They said that the man's fate is up to the president of El Salvador for some reason. Today in the Oval Office, it was a reporter who finally asked El Salvador's president if he would please return this man to the United States. The El Salvadoran president called the question, quote, preposterous. Of course he wouldn't. So we have here a constitutional nightmare, a legal nightmare, obviously a moral nightmare.
The homegrowns are next. He said it. We heard it. You and me, we're next. Those of us born on American soil, natural-born citizens, we're next. He said it standing next to the president of El Salvador. And then we heard him in his soft, jestful voice say, maybe we need 5 more of these places. To which I can only assume he meant for these future homegrown criminals. Who, in his words, he also talked about the mentally deranged, right? If you're going to have any country at all, they need to go. But the thing that is very ironic, and in my opinion, if he was serious about what it is he's talking about whatsoever, he would be putting himself on a flight tomorrow morning and admitting himself in El Salvador to one of these prisons for the rest of his life. But he's not serious. He's not serious about law and order. He's serious about getting rid of anyone who doesn't align with what he thinks. And I know that a lot of you already know that. And the ironic thing is, something I don't think he's really thought out because he's not a smart human being, is that the vast majority of people that live in this country, I would wager, don't have criminal records. In fact, I would even argue that the majority of people in this country have never had any criminal activity in their entire life. So, what is going to be classified as mentally deranged in some point in the future, huh? What are these crimes that the homegrown, natural-born citizens of this country are going to be accused of, indicted upon, and sentenced thereof, huh? Because I'm not a criminal. I have no criminal record whatsoever. I'm almost 47 years old, born on American soil in the state of Oregon. No criminal record. And it's hilarious hearing this coming from someone who sits in the highest position of this land, who is a notorious criminal, a renowned name that you could, when you say the name Trump, notorious for being involved in decades of litigation, civil criminal litigation. Not me. Not you. So, how is he going to fill these places that he jokes about with criminals that don't exist? What is it that we are going to be accused of being guilty for? Opposing him? Speaking out against him? Calling him things that, in our opinion and lived experience, he fits the bill. And he's not going to like what we say about him. So is that going to be our crime? Believing that he's a malignant narcissist, is that going to become a crime to believe that about him? To say that he's a criminal and a felon and he's defrauded who knows how many people in the decades that he's been doing it? Is that going to become a crime to point out actual things he's done? Documented things? Because I wouldn't put it past him to make those things criminal activities if he's allowed to keep doing what he's doing. And if the Supreme Court doesn't do something about his neglect and his disregard for what it is that they have advised him he needs to be doing with the return of a certain person that was sent to El Salvador, then I say, why do any of us listen to anything that the Supreme Court says? When they ruled to overturn Roe v. Wade, why are any of the doctors, physicians, gynecologists, midwives, dietitians, why are any of those that give the health care to women during their pregnancy and delivery, and during the times when things happen naturally, like miscarriages or ectopic pregnancies, or they have complications, why are any of those medical professionals right now listening to that order? Donald Trump has set an example that he doesn't really care what the Supreme Court said in a unanimous decision. So why do they care? And why do we care about what the Supreme Court said in a non-unanimous decision concerning women's health care and bodily autonomy, reproductive rights? Why do we care? What are they going to do? Arrest every single doctor, physician, gynecologist, dietitian, midwife, medical professional that gives advice to women during prenatal care or postnatal care? Are they going to come in and arrest every single person in that field that does that? But they won't arrest him. They won't make him do something that's been ordered by the Supreme Court. Why are we all scared? Why are we scared of Donald Trump? I'm not talking about me. I just mean collectively. Why are all these people afraid of him? He's a weak, insecure human being. And that's why he's doing all the things he's doing. Because that is the only way that he can get what he wants, is to exert force and control and oppression. He can't get those things any other way. Because people don't want those things. People don't want to be oppressed. People want to have autonomy over their body. Men have it. Just like with what they're doing right now with the SAVE Act. I talked about this in another video. Those who he's surrounded himself with have been vocal in the last year or two about the idea of repealing the 19th Amendment. But that would be a very steep mountain to climb. And that requires a lot more than just having the House pass the SAVE Act that goes to the Senate and potentially exercise coverture over women who have taken the last name of those they are with. Because they never cared about marriage, let alone traditional marriage. Traditional marriage was just when the woman took the man's name, because then she was owned by him. She was under his authority. And that's what they're trying to exercise right now with women's name, with their last names, so that it makes it harder for them to vote, because they know that repealing the 19th Amendment is a little more difficult. That may not go over so well. But if they can pass this with their majority in the House and get a few Democrats to join who apparently don't care about exercising coverture over their families and their wives, let alone that women voted for this, then that's what they'll do. Because that's the only way they can get anything done, is to use force and oppression. And I think it's time that all of us say, we are not afraid. We are not afraid of them. We are not criminals. I have no criminal record whatsoever. I've worked 30 years of my life. I got my degree in college, 6 years of college. I've been married 20 years. I have 2 kids. I've done the steps we were told. I've always gotten along with everybody. What crimes am I going to be guilty of? What crimes are you going to be guilty of? For simply speaking out against someone who's trying to destroy every single thing that we hold dear? That's not a crime. That's our duty. That's our obligation. That's what we should do. And we are able to do that because of the idea that we were told growing up that this is the land of the free and the home of the brave. And we better do it while we can, before we become criminals for saying the truth. Because that is what he wants.
Trump getting caught on a hot mic talking to the El Salvadorian dictator is crazy. He said the homegrowns are next. That should freak you out. That should freak you out. Even if you think to yourself, well, I don't plan on robbing anybody and I don't plan on doing anything that would be incredibly criminal anyway. Who's to say what's going to be illegal next? He has the Supreme Court in his corner and the Senate and Congress. Like, he's got it all. So, like, who knows? Maybe jaywalking will get you deported to an El Salvadorian prison. Maybe if you're starving because prices are super high and you decide to chance it and take a sandwich from the deli, you're going to end up getting deported. You know, if you speak out against the Trump campaign, not the campaign, the administration, if you speak out against him, who knows? All of us could end up being deported to El Salvadorian prisons. And then what? I'm so serious when I say MAGA needs to get off their ass a little bit more. I've seen the polls changing, and I've seen that their dissatisfaction has been growing. But this is where we need help, is to stop this shit, to keep pressuring the government about bringing back people who were unlawfully deported and then lying about it. This is insane.
I have a couple thoughts here. Stick with me. It's going to be a long video. First of all, I think everyone in this country needs life insurance. If you don't have life insurance right now, I think you need to go get it. If you know or you love someone who is in a prison in the United States, get them to get life insurance. I looked it up. You can get life insurance even if you are a convicted felon. Why? Because when people start getting taken and moved to different parts of the world, you're going to go to your life insurance provider and you're going to try to get the money because you're going to say that they're dead and they're going to have to investigate and they have the money and the resources and all of the things that can go up toe to toe against the government. They have more money than God. And the only thing in this country that is more important than the judicial system is fucking money. Right? Right? Okay. The next thing that I think we all need to do is realize that we are stronger together. This scene kind of reminds me of a moment in Gladiator, the original one, not the one that came out last year, right? Where they're reenacting the Battle of Carthage. And literally they're like, that's not a battle, that's a massacre. But Maximus Decimus Meridius, the fucking leader of the armies of the North, right? He says to his guys in the arena, he says, whatever comes out of those doors, we are better together. What do I mean by that? I mean, we need to talk to everyone that we fucking know. All of your family members, people that you know and you love, people that you know would care about this if they knew that it was going on, because a lot of people aren't fucking paying attention. Why? Because literally the stock market was just rigged last week and we've already forgotten about it. The discombobulation is the fucking point. We have to find a way to stay regulated, but we have to work together. Now, there is a group of people in this country who aren't going to be mad about this at all, and I fucking know that. They don't give a shit, and that's fine. They'll they will be dealt with at a later date, probably from karma, probably from supporting this person, frankly, because he's going to turn on everyone at any point in time, right? The last thing I want to make sure that you're doing is that you're calling your senators and your House of Representatives to bring articles of impeachment, right? It is time to bring articles of impeachment. It has been time, right? But we have to get the articles of impeachment on the floor. That's where our checks and balances come in. The blatant misrepresentation or just refusing to listen to the Supreme Court means impeachment. It actually means jail time, frankly, right? Because if they're going against the highest court in the land, and I'm no lawyer, but someone can correct me if I'm wrong, is that not contempt of court, right? Anyone? Tell me that. Hopefully, Senator Van Hollen will go down. I keep trying to say Van Halen. Van Hollen will go down and get him. I don't want more than one senator to go down there, though, because I have a sneaking suspicion something fucking terrible is going to happen to that man. And if more than one senator is down there, that means more than one seat is up for election. And if you are coming from this video, you know that in March, as Dachau is getting created, March of 1933, there's also a recall election, which we can't do in this country at the federal level. But if 5 senators go down there, 10 senators go down there, something bad happens, then we have 10 open seats. Do you see where my head is at? Life insurance first, talking to everyone you know second, getting organized, calling your senators, calling your House of Representatives, articles of impeachment. Also, I will be posting on Instagram and YouTube. What a time to announce that. Fuck it. Let's go.
So it's about 11:30 a.m. on Monday, April 14th, and we need to be very clear about where we are and what just happened. The president of El Salvador, inside the Oval Office, sitting next to the president of the United States, just handed down a life sentence in an El Salvadoran prison to Kilmar Abrego Garcia. The president of El Salvador said that he is not going to release this man to the United States and that he will never do so. And the president of the United States affirmed, ratified, celebrated, and cheered that life sentence that was just handed down to this man with no trial, with no hearing in El Salvador or the United States. He's not been charged or indicted with any crimes in either country. He didn't get a trial in front of a jury. And the president of El Salvador gave him a life sentence. And the president of the United States, sitting next to him inside the Oval Office, was like, hell yeah. That's what just happened. And if you think this is going to stop with immigrants who were here in the United States legally, like Mr. Abrego Garcia, who has been married to a U.S. citizen for 10 years. He was here working. They have 3 children, one of whom is special needs. And this dictator from El Salvador just handed that man a life sentence in an El Salvadoran prison. And that was ratified and affirmed by the President of the United States. Mr. Abrego Garcia was in the United States legally. And the last time he was inside of a courtroom, it was to receive from a federal judge a special protection order preventing him from being deported specifically to El Salvador. So Trump administration has violated at least 2 federal court orders in sending him to El Salvador and has refused multiple lower court orders and a United States Supreme Court order in refusing to provide information about him and his whereabouts, the steps they've taken to bring him back, and information about his basic condition. So what is John Roberts going to do about this? Is he going to do anything about this? If he does not do anything about this, it is going to be open season on U.S. citizens with who have disagreement with the Trump administration. This administration, this Department of Justice, will begin abducting United States citizens and sending them to this prison in El Salvador, which Donald Trump was asked about that this morning, and he said, I love it. And he told the president of El Salvador that he's going to need to build at least 5 more prisons in El Salvador to house United States citizens. What's it going to take, man? This meeting between the 2 of these men went as badly as it could have gone relative to the ideal or concept of anything resembling democratic rule in the United States of America. And the Supreme Court is the last stop. What is John Roberts going to do? This is absolutely terrifying, and it is beyond fucked up.
Correct. The homegrowns will be anti-Trump people, not real criminals. Yes, he is that hateful and petty. I believe it was my other account I talked about this on. But just a quick Google search here with me. Dissenters of the party faced severe consequences, including arrest, imprisonment, torture, execution, and deportation to concentration camps. The Gestapo and other authorities actively suppressed any opposition using show trials and summary justice to target resistance groups and individuals. Many dissenters were members of the Social Democratic Party or other groups that the deemed enemies of the state. This has happened before, people. Like, there's history to teach us what is going to happen if we don't stop what is currently happening under this administration. It won't stop with criminals, with immigrants. It won't stop with brown people or black people. If you're not a straight, white, heterosexual, I already said straight, cisgender, male, Christian, you're not safe. If you've ever sent a text message, recorded a video, or done anything expressing your disdain with Donald Trump, you're not safe. If you have a family member who is LGBTQ or you yourself, and you don't self-report or turn your family member in, you're not safe. We're not safe.
Narcissistic sociopaths have to have victims. That's how they get their supply. So if you continually get rid of undesirables, then there has to be a new undesirable, right? So then you get rid of those undesirables. Then there has to be new undesirables, and it just goes on and on and on. What happens when you finally get rid of all the undesirables? What happens when all that's left is all the people? Just this utopia of all these people that are just 1%ers or that just agree with you, and there's no one left to victimize. Maybe that's why they want women to have babies. I don't know, but you get rid of undesirables, then you have to have a new group of undesirables, and so on and so on and so on. So if you think that you are safe, open your friggin' eyes, because it's right in front of your face. It's right in front of your face. If you can't see it, then just close your eyes, turn around, turn back around, open your eyes again, and maybe you'll see it. You know how you can't find things that are right in front of your face, so you have to walk away for a second? Eventually, the supply of undesirables ends.
My friend who lives in Egypt is telling me that people who have been applying for visas to the United States are now trying to cancel that and go somewhere else in Europe. These are like exchange students, basically visa students that are like, hell no, I'm not going to the United States, because they're taking kids who have visas, like basically exchange students that are in like colleges and universities, and they're just taking them. They're taking. I know you guys all saw that video of the girl being taken by plainclothes officers who did not identify themselves. They just grabbed her wrists, terrified the shit out of her, she can legally be here. All of these students that they're taking and putting in detention centers can legally be here. The United States wants to keep this propaganda of, oh, the Middle East is the bad place, and that's terrible. But the Middle Easterners who are here are like, actually, no, we're from there, and let me tell you what's actually going on. And they're like, nope, shut them up and put them in detention centers, and nobody can contact them. If you think it's going to stop with visa holders, it's not. These people can legally be here. These are legal residents, you guys. They're even taking legal citizens of the United States because their parents are not legal, and they're sending those legal citizens to wherever the hell their parents are from, along with their parents. Legal U.S. citizens. You think you being a legal U.S. citizen, they're not going to come for you next? It doesn't have anything to do with your immigration status. They're going to find some reason to lock you up without due process. That's what they're already doing to legal citizens. Exchange students are terrified to come to the United States. This is insane, you guys. This is actually insane. They're going to make up something to come for all of us at one point. If we talk, if we fucking say anything, they're going to come for us. Even me saying this shit now, they could dig it up and be like, oh, we got to take her. Got to take her. What have our military been fighting for this whole time? They're like, we've been fighting for freedom. Freedom, America, fuck yeah. Okay, what freedoms? What freedoms? What freedoms? What freedoms? What they did is they lied to the American citizens. They lied to our military and made them think that they were doing something good. All for the sole purpose of using them as disposable souls to get what they wanted, which is power and control over other people's land. Use the resources on other people's land and make money off of it. Used our families. They used our moms, dads, brothers, sisters, cousins, uncles. They used their souls for their own purpose. They used their lives. And now veterans cannot even get the proper health care because the healthcare department's fucked now. For vets, there have been so many job terminations and no one knows what's going on. It's chaos. They genuinely don't see a problem with what they're doing. They don't see a problem.
Homegrowns are next. Do you know what that means? It means you, dude. It means you. If you were born in an American hospital, that means you. You're next. It means we're at the end of that poem. You know, the one where people are like, first they came for, then they came for, and when they came for me, nobody was there to speak for me. It's you. If you have an American birth certificate, homegrowns are next means you. If you ever say anything that this current crop of people making all the laws decide is too dangerous, and keep in mind, okay, all that people have said so far that got them completely, planed away was, I would rather the tax dollars here not be spent on completely sculling lots of school children, right? So if you say anything like that or worse, that's, you're behind his grass, my friend. Like, let's just talk honestly about what this means. Homegrowns are next. You're gonna have to build 5 more of those facilities, is how he put it, in order to keep all the people. 5, they're talking about people here in the United States with any felonies that they deem as being too radical. You speak out too much against the administration's foreign policy, gone. You speak too much about the administration's domestic policy, like how they, administer food stamps or Social Security, gone. Maybe. You want to take that bet? You want to take that bet that you're going to be the one dissident who gets away? I really, really would encourage you not to.
This is an actual real-life conversation that took place between Donald Trump and the president of El Salvador today. Trump, homegrown criminals are next. Bukele, yeah, Trump. They said homegrown criminals are next. The homegrowns. You got to build about 5 more places. Bukele, yeah, Trump, all right. And then everyone in the room laughs. And then Trump says, it's not big enough. And then Bukele says, oh yeah, come on. So just to recap, that was the president of the United States telling the president of El Salvador, we're going to send homegrown American citizens to your El Salvadoran Supermax prison, and you're going to have to build about 5 more of them to fit all the American citizens I'm sending you. And then they both laugh. Whatever you've been telling yourself that this is to maintain your sanity, that's not what this is. If it ever was that, it's not that anymore. We have crossed the point of no return. I don't even know what to say anymore, honestly.
I want you guys to let me know what you think of all these responses. Of course, there are those that actually get it, that they are not going to be an exception in this. And I think a lot of them have now come to a realization that nobody is ever going to be able to save them from this man. Now, the thing, a lot of them are realizing that if you don't identify with his ideologies and agendas, he does not like you and he's against you. So I feel like there's just the level of denial that a lot of them were in has started washing off, which is actually amazing to see. And I think a lot of them now are reacting in panic and in fear because white supremacy is not going to cover them. So interesting that these are the same people that were warned and they were told, don't put this man in office because he's about to jeopardize everything. And they prioritize white supremacy because, let's be honest, there's just quite a lot of them that voted for him that right now they have changed their minds and now they are also coming up with reactions because they don't understand what is going on, right? These are the same people that were warned. And they're like, you know, we need to prioritize America, make America great again. I don't know if America is great again when America cannot even handle its own criminals. How ridiculous is that? Like, how can a country be great when it is the prison system itself is even failing in the country, so they have to literally look at another country? And I also don't know why this never sounded an alarm. This man befriending and wanting to be close to dictators. I don't know if they didn't see that this is a kind of a pattern and he wanted to conform, of which, I mean, he's really made everything so obvious. It's just, I feel like even kids can understand who Trump is when they listen to him. I don't think they are going to just take everything that he says as a joke. But big old people ignore things like that, just like you saw in the hot mic scene. Literally everybody that was available present, they laughed because they never take him serious. But this man, everything he says is very serious. And now for our brothers and sisters, the Latinos and the Cubans and everybody else that thought, oh, we are in this country legally, he's only looking, he's only looking for the bad ones. What about these doctors that are being sent emails? What about the lawyers that are being sent emails, right, by ICE to be deported? I'm like, they are telling them to leave the country as, like, what is even happening? Is America become just, I mean, yeah, the United States of embarrassment, a lot of people are saying, but my goodness, isn't this too much? I mean, said he wants to prioritize Americans, but then he's sending the same Americans he wanted to prioritize to other countries of dictators, right? And they have every right to detain you and keep you there and not give you any right of literally hearing you out or sending you back home. Like, but you're not a citizen of that country. I can only imagine how deep he's willing to go to make sure that he makes all his enemies suffer. Because from this point, it looks like anybody that speaks against him, that one is his enemy. We all have to come to an agreement that America is not a democracy that it used to be. Things are going to be totally different in this regime. And he's already expressed his intention of wanting to be a president for more than, these 4 years. He does not count the 4 years that he was in office in the first place. And I can only imagine if he keeps pushing on this. And also, I feel like I want to say that a lot of these palm-colored people that are reacting, yeah, the thing is as well, if you're poor, like if you don't have money, and you are in America, even if you're palm-colored, you don't count. But I feel like even them, the Latinos that were thinking it's about doing things the right way, you have clearly seen he's given you all the signs. And I think there's no need to doubt anymore. When someone shows you who they are, please believe them. Don't wait until when things turn sour, then for you to believe them that that's who they really are. And also, if we are really to talk about who the real homegrowns are, I feel like he's the #1 homegrown criminal. What is it going to take for the palm-colored people to rescue their own nation and their own people from the first number one homegrown criminal? But anywho, for us, you are watching from a distance, I feel like this is God's judgment on America for the negligence that they have towards other people and how they ignore and bully and take away from people and literally just, mistreat and just do stuff to others. I feel like this might be a payback from God. He has a way of, shaking it all together and giving it to you your way. So I want you guys to let me know what you think about these reactions. Are these reactions of panic? Have they lost hope in white privilege as well? And can white privilege save them from being homegrowns? Because we know, yes, they are going to target black people. But even poor white people, even those that don't agree with him, they are on the list. And I don't know who's going to make them survive it. Let me know what you think in the comment section. And if you haven't liked and subscribed, please do me a favor and do that. I appreciate it. And I think from me for today, that's it. I'll see you in another amazing video. Until then, my name is Chrissy and I love all of you. Bye.